Okay, my assumption is you clicked in this video overview and that's what you're watching now because you're interested in the Math 122 guide. My suggestion is to click on the 122 guide right over here, just click on it. And what's going to happen is going to open up a Dropbox. If you're not a member of Dropbox, it's going to ask you to join. If you don't want to join, just say no thank you. I do not want to join, but I want the document. You'll see the document. My encouragement to you is to download the document. When you click the download button, what's going to happen is it'll download it to your computer. And if your computer's properly configured, it should open up the PDF file. This is the PDF file. I want to briefly go through it with you. And you know what I'm talking about? There's a table of contents. Yeah, you look at the table of contents, but I kind of divide up the calculus material into sections, calculus 2 material into sections. So for example, let's say you were teaching trigonometric substitution. Well, I see that right over here. I'm going to click on that, and I'll show you the general structure of the document. So trigonometric substitution, it's section 9 of my guide, by the way. I'm not saying it's chapter 9, it's just section 9 of my guide. So it's trigonometric substitution. I want to emphasize to you that you'll see in my notes little tiny videos are over here. If you click on this, a little video would open up, and the bottom line is it's 2 minutes and 56 seconds long. Do you need to watch that video? No, you don't need to watch that video. It may be helpful, it may not be helpful. I'm going to go back over here, and what I want to do is talk about trigonometric substitution, all right? So if this were me in classroom, what I would be doing is saying to the students, we're in section 9, we're going to be doing trigonometric substitution. I would do things at the board, but the student should have access to this document as I'm working at the board. What do? I talk about an example, I talk about the forms, we take an example, and then I do it at the board. That's all I do at the board, all right? And again, everything is written up so students don't have to take notes. I mean, I would not suggest reading a student, but I would suggest is maybe paraphrasing what's said over here. So I go through, a variety of forms for trigonometric substitution. Each form I give an example. In the blue area is my work at the board that you would see, all right? So number 3, another example, another form, and there's basically 3 forms students would be aware of. And I go through, basically mini lecture material where I'm talking about an example. Now, of course, what happens next is we start doing examples, all right? So lecture material, trigonometric substitution, and then examples. And in the examples, what I do is I give an example. Next to it, you'll see a little tiny mini video, right? If you want to click on that, you can. But for the most part, it's me working at the board to do this particular problem over here. What's in the blue area? Basically what my board would look like. Now, I'll be honest with you, my board doesn't really look like this blue area because this is typeset. My board is with chalk or with a marker. It never looks this good, by the way. But again, really giving good notes to students, I would say is very important to do. Right, I do make some references that other teachers may find peculiar, like for example reduction formulas. But I do talk about things, and I put them in footnotes. Again, I'm not big on memorization, but I do talk about the derivations of some reduction formulas. But for the most part, I may give a reduction formula and just want students to use it. All right. So I go through a bunch of examples, right, and then what happens? Students need to leave the classroom after the lesson, and they need to give it a try. All right, so what do? There's homework for them. What is homework? Give them a question, and they try it, and then they got, supporting information over here. What do you mean by supporting information? Work. I put the work down for them. All right, now someone says, well, what does the student do? Did they copy? No, the student doesn't copy my work. What they do is they look at the example, they do the example, and then they use this as an answer key to see how they've done. They self-assess. If they feel good about it, great. If they don't feel good about it, they need to go back and study the lecture material again. So a bunch of examples for them to do. And yeah, it takes time and effort for them to get through that, all right? And a majority of their study time should be taking place outside the classroom, particularly when they're getting to this level of mathematics, Math 122. All right, so there's homework there. Yeah, the homework is long. I know that. It's doable, though. And I'll talk about how long it took me to get through that. Okay, at the end of it, you'll see a reference to an assignment. Your assignments may be different than mine. Don't worry about it. My assignment numbers change too, but the bottom line is I put assignments up, typically through WebAssign, particularly if it's being taught online. Now, this is what I want to talk about over here, and I realize A lot of faculty members are not comfortable with the computer algebra system, and that's fine, by the way, you don't have to be. But I do cover a computer algebra system called Sage Math. And what do? I give some sample code. It's important that students get used to seeing a computer algebra system and how to work it. All right, at the very end of every section, though, what are you going to see? You're going to see me publish my lectures, that's right over here, for this material, me doing the examples at the whiteboard, me talking through the Sage, and me actually doing the homework. I want to click on the homework, though. It is a YouTube video, all right, and the YouTube video might appear to be quite long to some people. It's 57 minutes and 58 seconds, about an hour long. So it took me an hour to get to the homework, and no, I'm not rushing through it. I'm putting all the work down. In other words, if I were a student in this class and I studied, the homework would take me about an hour to get through. What would take me more time, though, if I was unfamiliar with the subject area, though, is the study. And that's where a lot of our students really fail to understand. They've got to put the time and effort into the study. Once they do that, doing homework is rather quick to get through. They're not very challenging questions, by the way, at least for the most part. But I want to point out, you look at the video, you can play around with the sound if you want, you can mute it, you can have closed caption, you can change the settings on it. What does that mean? Playback speed, maybe you want to watch it double speed. So if a double speed, what do you got? 60-minute video would be 30 minutes to watch, all right? The other thing you could do is you could change the quality of it. Let me go back to quality. And the quality, you could go up to 720p for some of these videos. Some of the videos go to 1440p, by the way. They're pretty high quality. What do you mean by that? Maybe content's not high quality, but the image is high quality. But the bottom line, 720p or even 144p is probably enough for most students to see what's going on at the whiteboard, all right? So what happens to a lot of students who are not really interested in watching the whole video, they can scrub these videos and, get to a particular section of the video if they want. And again, they say, why would I do that? Maybe you're not interested in watching the whole video. You're just interested in watching a piece of it. So for example, over here, what do I notice? They're on problem number 7. Again, if you want to, you can blow the screen up. And hopefully you have the notes in your possession, by the way, and you know that I'm working on problem number 7 at this point. All right? And it's important that you understand you don't need to watch these videos unless you find these videos helpful. If you don't find them helpful, though, you are not to be watching these videos, right? What do you need to do? You need to study those things that are helpful to you. Now, whether it's your teacher's lecture notes or whether it's YouTube videos or the textbook, whatever you find helpful to learn this material, all right? And I really can't say it enough times to you. It's what you find to be helpful. All right, I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to go back to the notes. That's a PDF, by the way. And you're going to notice that every section of the notes is going to be reflective of a lecture, examples, homework, Sage Code videos. They're all going to look the same. What changes? Content. That changes. Thank you so much for paying attention.